Hello, and thanks again for tuning into the Irish Racing YouTube channel. We're back today to preview probably one of the best races in the world, one of the best weekends of racing. And thanks to our sponsors, Live Score Bet, for bringing the show on. A race which is always shows up a legendary clash, and hopefully this weekend will show up a few more. Delighted to be joined by Tanya Stevenson to preview a brilliant weekend of racing. Tanya, are you excited for our weekend?
I am, because there's so many different stories feeding into the main race itself. But this time around, lots of the supporting races. There's some interest for everyone. And I think in the arc itself, there's always history made, but there definitely could be this time around.
Yeah, it's like you said, the kind of supporting card looks fascinating. A lot of Irish and UK challengers coming over as well. So we'll get stuck into that mostly. I think we're going to focus the card mostly on the Sunday, the show mostly on the Sunday card at Longchamp. But we'll start off on Saturday with a quick look at a couple of Group 1s. We'll start with the Cadran in Longchamp. Look, I'm not really sure how much you can say about this. We've got Kyprios coming back. He won it in 2022. We've got Triomphe, though. He won this last year in Kyprios' absence. Look, Kyprios, he's 4-11 favourite there with some firms. He's going to be a long odds-on shot. Tanya, is there any way you could oppose him here, or is it going to be a bit of a procession here for probably one of the best stayers that I can remember anyway?
I think I wouldn't say it's going to be a procession, but it's going to be a lovely fill up for everyone who's there and looking on, because hopefully it will give huge positivity. He's been 7 Group 1s now. He's just a phenomenon. He's won both the 22 and 24 Ascot Gold Cup, Goodwood Cup. And you're looking as well now, is he going to do Irish St Ledger? Is he going to do it now in the Cadran as well? Because you mentioned Triomphe won it last year. The year before was Kyprios as well. It's lovely. It's a small but select field. You mentioned Triomphe's in there as well. Coltrane, I think, is well held by Triomphe, let alone Kyprios. So Triomphe's going to have his work cut out to try and reverse the form, and you can see what the odds are. They just reflect the class of Kyprios. He's a superstar, and it's great that Aidan's allowing him to run in this race. What I would mention, though, watch out for the future if he's going to go in some more big staying racing, is the French runner Double Major. You can't ignore the fact that he won the Prix Royallieu by 7.5 lengths. Obviously, the quality of the opposition was nothing like what Kyprios comes up against, but he could certainly challenge for Triomphe a second. It's going to be great to see Kyprios. He's correctly priced. Perhaps he's not short enough, but with so many travelling over to Longchamp, that price might not last too long. But it's lovely to see him, and I sense that he's going to carry on the theme of doing 2022 and 2024 this time with the Cadran.
Yeah, it would be great to see. It'll be a nice way to kick off the Group 1s as well, with kind of a star in there with the likes of Kyprios. A miracle he's even still on the track after that injury he had a couple of years ago. Great to see him back, and talks are that he'll remain in training next year, which is great, because these stayers are kind of ones the fans can get behind, I suppose. They come back year in, year out. Just before we move on to the Sun Chariot at Newmarket, was there anything else in Longchamp on Saturday that caught your eye?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a 4 o'clock race, the Prix Royallieu. Sir Mark Prescott. We all love Sir Mark, so we'll keep an eye on Rouge Cellier. Came into our consciousness, I think you can say, at Kempton, when she won by 15 lengths on the all-weather. And I think to some extent surprised Sir Mark, let alone shocked, or not shocked, shock's the wrong word, astonished us all with the manner of the victory. Then went to take on Kalpana at Hamilton, which is no easy task. And the form line might not look good, but she wouldn't beaten too far. That's the key. And it's one of those things where Sir Mark Prescott is building up in distance gradually. And on Saturday, she runs over 1 3/4 miles, which, if you watch the Kalpana race, might well be the trip. The issue is it's straightened from winning a all-weather race. Now you've gone up so many steps of the ladder, you're straight into a Group 1. Sir Mark wouldn't run Rouge Cellier in a Group 1 if he didn't think that wasn't going to disgrace herself. So I would go that each way. I think it's a huge price each way. I think that run behind Beechwood, I thought that was really good. What that did show you that 1.5 miles was a little bit too short, and she only got into the Beechwood race in the closing stages. And that was a first run for 53 days as well. So, yeah, I mean, that was a great run against Beechwood. Watch that again. Watch how much distance that she had to make on Beechwood, who's no mean horse. And I think it's each way, it's a huge price. Just saying, you might look and say, oh, look who's come third, and think, oh, but the horse obviously is sort of for better things next year. So maybe it's going to run well really this year in France.
Interesting one to keep an eye on there each race, so bigger than 20-1 and might get a bigger price even on the day. So interesting one there. But we'll switch back to Newmarket just very, very briefly, just to talk about the Sun Chariot. It kind of seemed like a pity to leave this one out of the running order, considering it's top class Group 1 for the fillies and mares over the mile. Interesting, I thought that Colin Keane comes over and takes the ride on Tamafa for David Mansour, who's the 9-4 favourite in here. Inspirit as well reunites with Rab Hadlin for the first time, I think, since she made her debut at Newmarket. Rab gets back on board. And Nashwa, who we haven't seen since she competed in the Dubai World Cup as well, comes back here under Holly Doyle. The Gosdens definitely have a strong hand in this one. I suppose maybe to start off with Inspirit, she just hasn't been the same filly this year, but maybe a little bit more spark shown at Deauville last time.
Yeah, she's she's running 13 Group 1s, I think it is, and she's won 5 of them. And as you say, that third to Sharon last time was a good run, especially looking out for the second horse, which is Metropolitan, which I think we'll see at Ascot at Champions Day. That was that, as you said, showed the spark was back. She's got to defend the crown. It's not going to be easy, because the youngsters in the race are, I say the youngsters, the 3-year-olds in the race are quite special. Not that she isn't. She can show them a thing or two, and so can her stable companion Nashwa. I think Nashwa, if had run a lot better didn't run badly behind Factor Chabot in Dubai, if it had run a lot better and hadn't had such a big gap, it would be my automatic selection and no worries. But I sense that she's going to the Champions weekend and she'll be spot on for that. It's the 3-year-olds I worry about. I thought, oh, hello, Al Malka has turned up again. Your 1,000 guineas winner. It's been 20 years since that's been done, the 1,000 guineas and the Sun Chariot. Yet then you look into how many times it's been tried. It's not that often since Attraction did it in 2004. And when they've tried, I think it's been tried 6 times since, and 3 of those have come second. So they've been coming against some really higher-powered second. Al Malka has been, I think, the 2 races, the first race in the Coronation, she seemed floundering around and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know whether to lead, hold up. So they chose the latter option and she ran on really well. Ran on so well that they thought, oh, let's try 1.25 miles. And then 1.25 miles, it seemed to me in the Nassau, the petrol ran out. So we're back to the Sun Chariot here, a track that she loves. Only problem is that, as you mentioned, Tamfana's turned up, who, if we rerun the 1,000 guineas again, quite a few people would say that if Tamfana had been a lot closer, that Tamfana would be the 1,000 guineas winner. And Tamfana has been doing quietly, and that was a brilliant run at Sandown, because when winning the Atalanta Stakes, Tamfana came from behind and was dominant, which you want to when you're downgraded from Group 1s to Group 3s. She was really dominant. And I think Colin Keane's going to have a fantastic time of things. He's only had 1 winner at the Rowley Mile course, because I was looking this up the other day, and it was quite a while back. He rode True Self for Willie Mullins. But then again, he hasn't had many rides at the Rowley Mile. But he's a superstar jockey. Anyway, he's an absolute superstar, and he'll thrive on Tamfana. It is a great little puzzle. Who's going to lead? We don't know who's going to lead. We know the might and the awe in the paddock of Inspiral. She's brilliant. El Marca won't be far away. I'm going to go with Colin Keane. Well, David Manoussier and Tamfana. because of the way that they've rebuilt. Because so after they ran in the 1,000 Guineas, they ran some fantastic races subsequently. And then last time out of Sandown was the ideal race, just to show you how much acceleration she's got. So I'll go with David Manoussier and Tamfana.
Yeah, I kind of echo your thoughts there. And like you kind of mentioned, Colin Keane probably hasn't had that many big winners in the UK, but just because he isn't getting the rides, I suppose.
No.
And it's nice to see him getting this kind of big spare ride in the Group 1, because he's a man, anyone who watches Irish racing regularly, he does very, very little wrong. One of the best riders for a very long time on the flat. He's just brilliant. So I'd imagine he'll get things very right on Tamfana. And it'll be an interesting one as well, just looking forward to the card at Longchamp on Sunday. Tamfana has a lot of collateral form lines with a couple of runners in Longchamp. First off, Sparkling Plenty in the Loughborough. She overturned Tamfana when Tamfana was favoured to win the Prix de Diane back in June. So if Tamfana was to win this, you'd imagine it will boost her Sparkling Plenty's chances in the Loughborough on Sunday. And same again with Sosi in the Arch. Tamfana was behind him in the Prix de Paris, if I remember right. So
very
that
strong race.
his position. Yeah, that would strengthen his position as favourite for the Arc as well. You'd imagine if she was to rock up here and land this one. But it's a brilliant race. I think she'll have to improve to beat the two mares at the top there, Inspiral and Nashua. They're both brilliant on their day. But like you said, she's a trio. She's got all the potential to come forward. Whereas there's slight question marks around the Gosling pair. So I think Tamfana, definitely the right favourite there. I'm with you with that one. But we'll go on to I suppose the main talking point of the weekend. It's Arc Day at Longchamp. And we're going to start off with the Marcel Boussac, which always a cracker. I suppose the big talking point in here is the superstar French filly Zaragana, granddaughter of 2008 Arc winner Zarkava by Sir Uni. All the hype in France is around this filly. She lightly raced. She's only won twice. She's Group 3 over this trip last time. But there's an awful lot of talk about this filly. Tanya, have you been impressed with her so far?
Oh, I remember when she won the first race, it was a race for horses that had never raced before. She was, they couldn't get the replay. The French couldn't get the replay out on social media quick enough. They were so excited. The expectancy beforehand, and then that was produced on the track. It couldn't go out fast enough. And of course, it helped by the fact that who her family line is. It was so breathtaking. But then, of course, you don't know at that point who that she beat. And then last time out, it's worth watching the replay again and again and again. She looks very, very special indeed. The form, I sense, is strong enough to win this, because other than Simmering is such a great line of form, such a great yardstick. I think she's up for the superstar echelons. And no offense to Simmering and Exactly and Bedtime Story, they're superb. But this is looking potentially a wonder horse. But we might prove wrong, but worth watching the two races of Zaragana.
Yeah, definitely worth watching her back. I mean, you can see where the hype is coming from, and I suppose being closely rated to the likes of Zarkava kind of builds it even more in France, I suppose. But I do echo your thoughts there. I could just be a little bit weary of the likes of a Bedtime Story, you know, who's had so many hard races. She went to Ascot, she put in that massive performance. Just looks like it might have taken a bit of a toll on her. We're coming into the kind of the back end of the season here. Aidan O'Brien hasn't been minding his 2-year-olds. He's been letting them run, and they've been running well. But she's coming to the back end of the season. It will be hard for Bedtime Story to bounce back after that Moigler run. Although they did say she was lame after that. There isn't an awful lot of time between those. You can't imagine it could have been anything too serious. But yeah, I'd be kind of with you. I'd be slow enough to take on the French filly here. You mentioned Simmering as well. I suppose it's definitely noteworthy that she was supplemented for this. You'd imagine Ollie Sangster, she must have came out of Irish Champions Weekend bouncing. But still, that this French filly has that kind of superstar potential, like you said. So I'd be slow to take her on. If I was forced to, I probably would go with Simmering. I thought she ran a great race in Leopardstown on Champions Weekend, but similar to Bedtime Story, she's kind of been there, danced every dance. She was in Royal Ascot. It's coming to the end of a long year for her now. She's only a 2-year-old filly, so this French filly is kind of coming in here much more unexposed and with all that potential. So look, I think she's the right favourite in here, although She is short enough. I'd be slow enough to take her on. So I think that's all we say about her. I think we're both pretty keen on that French filly in there. But we'll go on to the 130 then. It's the Lagadere Group 1 over the 7 furlongs for the 2-year-olds. Won by Rossalian last year. It looks like the raiding party have a fairly strong hand in here as well. The UK and Irish runners probably likely to be short enough in the betting. We're just looking at the betting for the first time here now, and Field of Gold for John Gosden and Kieran Schumark has been impressive. He's probably one of the more likely race 2-year-olds in the field. Henry Matisse is probably a more proven Group 1 performer, but maybe his limitations slightly exposed last time at the Curragh. And Rashabar for Brian Meehan and Sean Levy definitely worth a mention in there as well. Tanya, what are your thoughts on this one? I thought Field of Gold probably looked like one with plenty of potential to improve here.
Certainly, where we've got a complete contrast in the Marcel Boussac, we're all looking at Zaragana. In the Jean-Luc Lagadere, it is so wide open. It's great. You mentioned Field of Gold, who wonderful, beautiful looking grey horse, got really rounded action, and Field of Gold was brilliant at Sandown. And more so the run behind that, the previous run, the form has worked out so well. The running with Stars in Her Eyes, Our Terms, Sing Us a Song, they've all come out, who finished behind Field of Gold, have all come out, run well, or actually won. So that was good. We knew that after its run in the Solario, and the Solario Stakes seemed a big test, went through the test well, looked incredibly green, looked to have that rounded action. I suppose it's accentuated because grey horse, but the knees are white, so it doesn't help. There's so much more to come. It wasn't one that wandered. It just didn't know how to let himself down. And if there's any little bit of ease in the ground at Longchamp, which there's meant to be, that's going to suit Field of Gold well. But there's not really initial acceleration, so you've got to start to wind up Field of Gold a little bit way out, which might not suit. So we start to look at some of the French runners in the race, or the other runners. You mentioned Henry Matisse. He's a little bit exposed after Hot as Hell. Mind you, Hot as Hell went to do the Beresford, but Scorthy Champers, Frank ran well as well behind him, but Scorthy Champers come out and beaten him. It was good there. I'd be worried about Henry Matisse. Rashabar, oh my goodness me. That run in France where Whistle Jacket was on the stand side rail. If you are able to watch the replay, Whistle Jacket was the stand side rail. Rashabar was somewhere in the centre of no man's land in the middle of the track, and yet still ran an almighty race against Whistle Jacket. Whistle Jacket had that rail. Had he been alongside Whistle Jacket, it might have been a different result. Rashabar's got the ability and real acceleration. A few of the others you might not know. Misunderstood, that's a lovely animal, lovely relaxed way about him, and he moves 5 lengths clear effortlessly last time out. He's a big danger. So too is Hokuto. That horse, he's got a little bit of an attitude. You'll watch him. When you watch him, he's got his ears give all the game away. He races really keenly, and those ears get spiked and pinned back when he's not liking what he's being told to do. If you let him do what he wants, he's got a potent finishing kick, and Field of Gold and Henry Matisse would be really vulnerable if he's just tucked in behind and allowed to suddenly pounce right. If there's 100 meters to go, he's got the acceleration that can pick up from that. If you haven't watched him, then there's Habe Betley. He's in red colours with white checks. He was second to Hokuto in Prix La Rochette last time. He's been given lots of different tactics. They've tested him in lots of different ways, Habe Betley, and he could be each way value as well. He can lead, he can come from behind, you can put him anywhere, he can be covered up, he can see daylight. So he's okay. And then we've also got to mention Cowd of the County's got Hokuto form the pair of them. So it's wide open. All that being said, after watching all the races, the way that how unlucky Rashabar was again that whistle jacket race in the morning, I think Rashabar comes in here with a real viable winning chance. And the other one that I'll go if I'm allowed one, Hokuto, but I mean, you'll know your chance as soon as the stall's open, because his head goes up in the air. He's a bit like Exactly. If you remember Exactly from the Moyglare stud, he's got his own mind, so he'll shake his head, and but he's got so much ability, but you just got to constrain it. So for safety's sakes, I'll go with Rashabar.
Rashabar, definitely an interesting one. Like I said, after that second whistle jacket, and obviously won the Coventry at Royal Ascot as well. So yeah, very, very strong coming to. I just thought it was really interesting that Aidan went for the visor, the first time visor on Henry Matisse. He didn't look the most straightforward, like you said, behind Scotty Champ in the Vincent O'Brien National Stakes last time. It's kind of hard to say that was his true running, because he did have the form over Scotty Champ in the Futurity. So like you'd imagine if this visor can bring out, keep him more straight. If you watch back the replay of that, he was kind of going all over the place once Ryan kind of got stuck into him, which may be a bit of a worry attitude wise. Running around when he comes under pressure wouldn't be a plus, but when Aidan O'Brien goes for the headgear, he normally doesn't get it too wrong, in fairness. And if this visor can keep Henry Matisse straight, he's definitely a proven Group 1 performer. I'd forgive him for the National Stakes run, just given the fact he was running around in the closing stages. If the visor wasn't on, I wouldn't be too keen to go for him, to be honest, because I do think he needs something to keep him concentrated, keep him straight, because he didn't put his best foot forward the last time. But just going back to his winning the Futurity, like you mentioned, hot as hell, came out next time to win the Beresford Group 2. Scotty Champ, proved that the form was strong when he came out on top in the National Stakes as well. He probably hasn't been as highly tried as some of Aidan's other 2-year-olds, although he's running in Group 2, Group 1 company. Probably some of the quieter races, I suppose, throughout the year. He hasn't been to Ascot or anything like that. I just think he's interesting with the visor. 5-2. I think for a proven Group 1, Group 2 performer, he shouldn't be too far away anyway, and I'd imagine Ryan will have him plenty handy with the visor on. It'll keep him straight. So I'd probably take a chance on him. I'll give him one more chance after that run National Stakes. It was a big disappointment that day, but the headgear is notable, I think, there for me. So I'll go with him in that one. But we'll move on to the next race of the day, which will be the Labbe, if I am right.
Yes.
If we get it up here. Yep. The sprint for over the 5 furlongs. Look, I suppose the French haven't had much luck in this race. I think for the past 3 years, it's gone to the UK and to Ireland. Holly Doyle won it in 2022 with the Platinum Queen, and she's got a favourites chance again here with Bradsell, who has just been a revelation this year. But I do have to feel very, very sorry for believing so far this year. She's been behind Bradsell the last twice, and you'd have to say the draw has done her absolutely no favours. They've been drawn a bit closer together this time. Bradsell's in 9 and she's in 5. So I don't think there'll be any excuses for her here, Tanya. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no excuses at all for Bradsell believing Mark 3 or Match 3. It's great that they do meet each other here at Longchamp in a race that is generally the French haven't won, but it is full of raiders from Ireland and GB. It's very hard to see believe in beating Bradsell this time around, even in Match 3, even with them virtually drawn together this time. So there is no excuses. They're virtually next door to each other. One's in stall 5, that's believing. In stall 9 is Bradsell. So they're on top of each other, which is great. So there can be no excuses. It'll probably be traffic problems, if anything. And because the concentration of ability is all around from about stall 5 to stall 12. So be very, very careful, everyone. There could be a stewards in this. No half measures. Great to see Richard Hughes go to no half measures to the Abbaye with this one. Understandably so. Ran a great trial in the Prix de Petit Couver last time. A really good trial. Was drawn 10 on that occasion, drawn 12 in the Abbaye. Followed behind Pontos of all horses. We all know about Pontos from the Nunthorpe, that Holly just tracked in that Nunthorpe, and she was in the right place. This was only 2 weeks ago, and as they crossed the line, there was 6 horses, I think, within a length, of which No Half Measures was 5th or something, not just beaten Shorthead's necks, and was very, very close up. So has to be taken into consideration because of familiar and exactly the style of the race just 2 weeks ago. That's some clever planning for No Half Measures, whether it was accident or not, but it was spot on. I'm minded. Bradshaw would be a big selection here, but I'm minded to be very wary of the 2-year-olds. You mentioned the Platinum Queen. Well, we have Inglemere and we have La Bellotta. Let's start with Inglemere, and ran so well at Ayr last time in the Firth of Clyde Stakes. That was over 6 furlongs, came there travelling as if it was going to win very, very easily, only to think, it's a bit too far. So coming with speed. Nicely, she won nicely earlier in the season at Newbury, gets a huge allowance. Why not? Big price, unthought of. Drawn stall 10, so will be drawn through beautifully because you're right bang alongside Bradshaw, and the instruction will be just try and hang on to Bradshaw at some point. But you are getting lots of weight. The other one, John Ryan's La Bellotta, who ran brilliantly in the Mill Reef recently. After, if you watch the replay, La Bellotta, either by design or otherwise, really badly missed the break. Kind of reared out of the stalls in the Mill Reef, and then the jockey didn't panic at all, just sat, but just natural speed carried her behind Powerful Glory, carried him behind, and he just sat there. I just think it was too fast to tackle Powerful Glory. Coming into a race like this, once again, you've got stall 9 Bradshaw, you've got stall 10 Inglemere, and stall 11 La Bellotta, both 10 and 11, obviously Bradshaw's just sheer class, but 10 and 11 with such a weight advantage, they're huge prices, because no matter how good Bradshaw is going to draw those 2 through, or they're going to be up with the pace. It's only going to be inexperience. So probably out of the pair of them, at an each way, because I'll pick Bradshaw. 2-year-olds are very dangerous. I'll go with La Bellotta each way, because of the just natural. I just hope that doesn't get into the habit of missing the break like it did at Newbury. It was like, it just needs to be trained to come out there. Not that it wasn't, it just made a horrific hash of those stalls opening.
Very good, and I see each way selection in there, and like you said, the 2-year-olds, a good record in this, recently won it with the Platinum Queen, so getting the weight, I can definitely see the case for that one. But like you said, I do kind of find Bradshaw hard enough to oppose here. Apart from that, he's just been brilliant this year, hasn't he? Like, he came back after an injury, and he was brilliant winning in Deauville first time out. Went on to York, great in the Nunthorpe, and then the Flying 5 at the Curragh was probably one of his best performances. I just love the way he can travel kind of up with the pace and then quicken off it again. He's just really fast, isn't he? And believing, I think you can definitely say she was unlucky, but I think you kind of make your own luck in these races as well. And Bradshaw, I think, could make it 2 labbies for Holly Doyle. I'm hoping, anyway, because I'm a big fan of the horse. Really quick horse. So I think he's a worthy favourite in there. But we'll go on to the big one of the day now, the Prix de l'Arc's Triomphe. What a race! Look, maybe lacking maybe a standout star in here, but still, it's kind of a fascinating one to get stuck into. Being declared 3 Irish challengers, 1 from the UK, and that's a notable supplemented blue stocking, the Mount of Ross Orion. The French pair, Luc de Vega and Sosi, are dominating the market. I think they were around 4-1 joint favourites the last time I looked at this. Los Angeles was the shortest of the raiding party as well, at around 7-1. And always, as usual, I suppose, the Japanese are putting in a strong challenge as one, and they're kind of dying to win. And Schlemper definitely ran a really good prep for this win in the Irish Champions Stakes. He was 3rd that day. Tanya, I guess we'll start off with the French pair, Luc de Vega and Sosi. Luc de Vega was all the rage until Sosi overturned him last time over this trip. I definitely have question marks about him over the 12 furlongs. He might have looked better at 10, although his trainer has come out with quotes saying he wasn't 100% fit for that. But definitely question marks in my mind about him over this 1.5 miles.
Yeah, you just hope he wasn't 100% fit. Mind you, it was a really muddling, was it 5-runner race they ran in the Prix de Royallieu, very muddling. So much so that Lope de Vega had to lead, really had to make it, force the pace himself. Sosie just lay up alongside him, just half a length behind, 2 horse widths away, and just tucked him beautifully behind was Delius. Let's not forget Delius in the contest. That one carries his head very high, Delius, but it has got some really, really good ability. Come around into the home straight, and Lope de Vega, for me, I was a bit worried about. It looked spent. The energy just emptied out very, very quickly. Sosie didn't really have to be shaken up too much for the victory. Delius looked nice, but then the shape of the race kind of fell apart. Even Ambient Friendly just sat behind, but just had no answer to anything. I don't know whether that because it had a busy season, but it was a very strange Prix Niel for me. Sosie did look impressive, but as you said, we've heard really, really good positive reports of subsequent gallops and exercises from Lope de Vega. Yes, it did win the Prix de Jockey Club, and that was really good from first look and Sosie on that occasion. But Sosie seems to have trained on a lot better, but then they might have been bringing Lope de Vega to a peak. I have to respect Sosie because the form is good. So too Lope de Vega, but neither would be my selection here.
Who are we going with?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, the pace is going to be the awkward one here because, as I mentioned, in that Prix Niel, Lope de Vega ended up having to kind of make its own pace for the race. So where is the pace going to come from for the arc itself? That's worth discussing because as open as the race is, there is literally no pace in the race. So do we see Continuous out in front, which potentially we could, and then they're in danger. If they let Continuous too far out in front, he's not going to come back. But that's the problem, the pace angle. There's going to be a steady pace, whether it's Lope de Vega again, and if so, you need something with a really potent finishing kick. Let's go to first of all, the Irish Champion Stakes, which was absolutely brilliant, captivating, scintillating to watch, won by economics. 2 horses to take out the race. Luckily, we see at Longchamp this weekend. Los Angeles, who probably ran everywhere, all over. I've never seen a horse run so much, wandering all over Leopardstown and then suddenly accelerating really quickly, really well in that Irish Champion. So I'm glad that we've got Los Angeles here. He's pigeonholed, I think, more so into the fact that we automatically presumed he was going to be a St. Leger horse. He came brilliantly third in the Derby. We said Irish Derby. But he has got acceleration, and it showed in the Irish Champion. Shin Emperor showed us for once that Japanese horses can deal with European racing. And it's worth watching Shin Emperor. His head was high up in the air as if he was looking up in the sky for the last, from about 2 furlongs to 1 furlong out. That might have been the fact that the horses either side of him were trying to concertina in, so he's getting a bit worried, thinking, well, I've got to go through a non-existent gap. He ran on really strongly as well. I also felt that the way he was running, he wasn't letting himself down, so he probably needs a bit of soft. There's been a lot of question marks on whether Shin Emperor will be able to cope with the ground. Well, of course, we know who his brother is. It was the 2020 ARC winner, Sotas, who could handle the ground. So hopefully Shin Emperor can. Then we got Al Riffa in the race, who's come into the race beautifully. Last year, Al Riffa was second to Ace Impact, just before Ace Impact came on to win this race. And he wasn't beaten far, Al Riffa. And this year, he's been steadily brought on, a brilliant second to City of Troy. And then last time out, a demolition job in Germany where he came through and won by 5 lengths. Obviously, not the class of these, but he showed you he was about 10 different, just a million times better than the his opposition. He did what he had to do. He's going to be dangerous. He's also going here. Both him and Shin Emperor are going to be very, very influential in the market. Just so watch out for this, because obviously Japan have viable chances in the arc. They often love supporting their runners. Our Riffer's ridden by Yutaka Taki, and he's just a megastar in Japan, so that will attract support. Blue Stocking, well, she's running 7 Group 1s. She's won a couple. She's interesting. She could be the pace angle. Her Prix Vermeil win, she was up with the pace, and she made mind up for Connections, I think. Her performance in that Vermeil made their mind up to come and invest that 100,000 or 120,000 supplement. She's had a busy year. My one issue is she's had a busy year. That was something else, that winner in the Prix Vermeil, but it's been a very, very busy year for her. The Pretty Polly win, she's been exceptional. She was beaten by Goliath, obviously, in the King George, but she's been running here, there, and everywhere, and it might finally be just one race too much for her. The horse that should be mentioned but hasn't been, other than by the trainer, is Marquise de Sévigné, who has, I think she's won 5 Group 1s, including last time out in the Prix Jean Romanet. That was what you call showboating. They knew how good she was against that opposition, and they just won cheekily by about a head or half a length. That was showboating. That Marquise de Sévigné was just held up and just travelled past them as if to say, look how good I am. The only problem with her, there will be the stamina, because she's only really run over 1.25 miles. So will she stay 1.5 miles? Well, she hasn't really been tested to stay 1.5 miles. And my belief is the fact that there's no pace in the race, it will need to suit horses with a quick burst. She can sit quietly behind and just nail it on the line. She's trained by Andre Fabre, and he's sort of been quite dismissive of the 3-year-olds. And fillies and mares have done exceptionally well in the race. 9 of the last 16 have gone to fillies and mares, which brings you to Blue Stocking and Marquise de Sévigné. I'll go to win the Arc, Marquise de Sévigné, and a massive run by Shin Emperor. I won't be surprised. And in fact, if it wins, I'll be really, really chuffed. But yes, I'll go with Fabre and Marquise de Sévigné, but I think Shin Emperor is going to be in there with a big run. I don't know who you think.
Can't go too wrong with Andre Fabre in the Arc, I suppose. I think has he won it 8 times? Shin Emperor, yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure, have brothers ever won the Arc? Maybe the closest relation might be Urban Sea and See the Stars. A mother and daughter, or mother and son combination. I'm not sure have brothers ever won. It's probably one to fact check if anyone knows. Let us know in the comments below. But yeah, you can obviously see the case for him. Lot to like from that run there. Champion Stakes, probably looks like one of the strongest ever Japanese challenges. And like you said, Taki riding for Joseph O'Brien, really interesting. Obviously, he was sold to Japanese Connections after that win in Germany, which brings that connection in there. But he should run a big race as well. Yeah, look, you've covered an awful lot of it there. I'm just trying to think what is there left to add. I thought Sunway maybe earlier in the week was quite a big price for David Menissier. I know Sheen Murphy, look, I don't think he's going to reverse the form with the likes of Los Angeles, but he was 40s or 50s earlier in the week, so I thought he might have been worse than each race out. He's after shortening a bit now since then, so I'm not sure would I be taking much shorter than that. But I look, one who I liked, I've been just a massive fan of the race of the horse for quite a while. Continuous under Christophe Soumillon for Aidan O'Brien. Christophe Soumillon rode him the last day when he ran here in the Prix over the 12 furlongs. It was just a really, really awkward race for Continuous, and he probably disappointed really. But I just think watching the race back, it's hard to blame him too much for it. He's a horse who wants a fast pace, and I think Christophe kind of jumped off thinking, you know, settle him in behind and see how it goes, but they just absolutely crawled from the second they jumped out of the stalls. I don't think he really wanted to go forward, but he was kind of forced into the lead then, and just got swallowed up in the finish. But I thought his run before that in the Royal Whip definitely was a good run. He beat Trust Your Instinct that day over the 10 furlongs, which, you know, Continuous probably even runs further than 1.5 miles, so definitely not the optimum trip, but he showed, you know, a good kick there even for a stare. Like, he does have a bit of a turn of foot, and like I just thought he was brilliant last year. He definitely hasn't gone on to do what I thought he might have done this year. Look, we haven't seen him an awful lot, but I thought it was kind of notable. I was just reading quotes on the Formscan website earlier this morning, and Aidan was kind of saying that, you know, his whole year has been kind of geared towards this autumn campaign, which kind of would give you a little bit more encouragement about his chances here. You know, we didn't see him for a long time at the start of the season. He's been fairly cautiously campaigned, but like, he was 5th in the ERC last year. I'd probably say that last year's ERC is a stronger renewal. So I do think 22-1 about Continuous is quite a big price. I think the ground will be perfect for him. We haven't talked a whole quite, like you kind of mentioned it earlier. It's probably going to be maybe good to soft, good to yielding kind of ground. You know, unless they get any kind of unexpected downpours in Paris. But that's kind of what it's looking like at the moment. So I'd be willing to take a chance on Continuous at 22, possibly could be even a bigger price on the day. I thought he ran a massive race in it last year. He was only beaten around three lengths by Ace Impact, who looked like a star last year. So he didn't get the clearest run that day either. He's a horse with a turn of foot. Like you were kind of saying, there isn't a whole pile of pace. I think he's a horse who does need a fast pace. And I was kind of hoping Blue Stocking might have been the pace in the race. I wouldn't really like to see Continuous going out and trying to make all. It would be a really, really tough ask in a race like this. But if the likes of a Blue Stocking or something else went on and set a good gallop, like you're kind of nearly always guaranteed a strong gallop in the ERC, even though, like you said, there isn't really anything too obvious in here to do that. I was kind of hoping maybe Blue Stocking with the blinkers on again, she could set a good pace in the front. I'd rather see Continuous ridden a little bit more cautiously and kind of use that turn of foot that he does have, even though he is a stayer. I do think he does have a turn of foot, and just at 22-25-1, he looks like a big price to me. Christophe Soumillon knows him well as well, which will be no harm on the day. But look, it's a crack. I can see the case for all the big horses. I'm a fan of Sosi. I was watching back his few races there over the last couple of days. Like, you're gone for a different Andre Fabre horse, but like, he definitely knows how to prep these horses for the ERC. He looked to kind of massively improve for the step up to the 12 furlongs in his last few starts. A really comfortable winner over Illinois in the Grand Prix de Paris, kind of when he first came into my radar. Illinois is no backstory either. Like he ran at Los Angeles close as well in New York, so I think the form of that is quite strong. I'd probably expect him to confirm the form with Luc de Vega. If I was going to pick between the two French horses, I would be with Sosi. Andre Fabre, I'd imagine, is probably just going to get to peak right on the day. I think that they're hoping kind of for the rain to stay away. I think they were saying he'll handle soft but not heavy, so unless there's any big deluge of rain, he should be fine on the ground. So Sosi would be my pick of maybe the shorter ones in the market, but I'm going to take a chance and Continuous. I really like the horse, and I think he can put in a performance similar to last year, and he won't be too far away. Then I don't think he's definitely worth an each way bet at a nice price there. So I think that's the ERC more or less covered. We've gone through most of the main contenders in that. What looks like a fascinating contest, but we'll finish up. I think the last race we're going to have a chat about on ERC weekend is the Prix de l'Opera. And although it is on the undercard for the ERC, this is a race probably worthy of being the showpiece on any day of racing. I think this is a cracker. A really, really fascinating contest. 11 in here. I think Fallen Angel was the market leader last time I checked there. The Irish 1,000 guineas winner, followed closely by the Aidan O'Brien pair, Ylang and Content. I thought it was really interesting that Ryan Moore chose to ride Ylang after she ran in the Matron at Leopardstown last time. What are you thinking here, Tanya? It looks like a really strong renewal, some top class fillies in here.
There certainly are. Fallen Angel, I thought, ran an absolute belter behind Porta Fortuna in that matron stakes. Virtually led them around the final bend. Just, I think the 111 days off the track meant that she didn't have enough to hold off Porta Fortuna, who is we just know how good Porta Fortuna is, and Fallen Angel comes in this probably with a favourite's chance. Ylang Ylang was fourth in that matron stakes, as you mentioned. I can't see her reversing the form with Fallen Angel, because there's a belief for me that after the 111-day layoff, Fallen Angel will improve that little bit more again. Content comes into the race, obviously having run really well when third to Blue Stocking in the Pretty Polly. She was second to You Got To Me in the Irish Oaks, and then travelled so well in the Yorkshire Oaks. That was on Good to Firm, and this might be 10 furlongs might be a little bit too short here. That's my worry for Content. Friendly Soul's a nice sort, made all in the Prix Alec Head. I watched that race against lesser rivals, and I'm scrunching my nose up because it just, although Friendly Soul is improving, she just hasn't, to me, got the Group 1 form that's required. Saying that, though, Hanalia looks a nice, a daughter of See the Stars. She's grown into herself. She was sixth in the Irish Oaks, and then second to Tarawara, and then last time out in the Blandford, she seemed to have lots of gears, and she beat Wingspan and Purple Lily, a filly that I love, Purple Lily. That was good, but put all that aside, have a look at the Prix Vermeil, everyone. Watch that race again. Blue Stocking obviously won it, but track the whole way round where Sparkling Plenty was. I don't know what they were thinking. Obviously, maybe they're just thinking that the Prix Vermeil is a way into winning the Prix Opera. But as soon as the stalls opened, she was a minimum of 10 to 12 lengths behind the leader. And coming into the home straight, they're trying to give 10 to 12 lengths to Blue Stocking. And then in that home straight, she ran on really well for no pressure whatsoever. She's finished sixth. I think she was probably beaten about 5 lengths, of which she's given up 10 lengths the whole way round. And this is you got to remember, all the back form she brings into this race. I just got to go with Sparkling Plenty just off the back of that run. And obviously, if Blue Stocking then goes on to win the Arc, then I'd probably be wishing I was at France to cheer in Paris, in Longchamp, to cheer Sparkling Plenty home, because just of that form. She's got a nice drawn in stall 7. I don't think they'll hold her up as accentuated as they did in the Vermeil. And I think, she's going to be very dangerous in the Opera. If Fallen Angel is out in front, they'll be looking out for the Sparkling Plenty colours, who comes in here with some very good form.
Very good, and we're keeping an eye out on the Sun Chariot as well to see how Tanya Fia, who has come up against Sparkling Plenty, could be a boost for her coming into this. I can definitely see the case for Sparkling Plenty. She's definitely one to keep on the short list. I'm very surprised Ylang Ylang is so short in the market now, 130. She was a bigger price earlier in the week. Like I said, I was surprised Ryan Moore chose her over Content. I think she's a filly. Look, I suppose you can make excuses for her. She did get injured in the Oaks. It sounded like a nasty enough problem she had. She tore her muscles quite badly behind, I think. And she ran well in the matron. There's no doubt about that. Ryan probably probably minded her a bit, I suppose, when he thought his chance was gone. But she's definitely a filly who hasn't really delivered on all the promise she had. Like coming into the start of this season, there was kind of talks about her being one of the top 3 old fillies, but that definitely has not transpired. She's trying the 10 furlongs here for the first time. Maybe that will bring out the improvement in her, but look, she just looks too short there, 130 for me. I would have liked to seen Ryan on Content, because I'm a massive fan of Content. But she is a really difficult ride. And look, Christoph Seaman, one of the best in the world, but I just thought Ryan's ride on her in the Yorkshire Oaks, like she pulled so hard, but she just kept giving in the end. But again, dropping down to the 10 furlongs, I'm not sure is that going to be her ideal here. You mentioned Hannah Leah, and I just thought she was an interesting one at a bit of a price, 14-1. She's probably one who maybe the 10 furlongs might actually be her optimum trip, whereas that might be a little bit of a question mark about Content. Possibly Ylang. We don't know what her optimum trip is yet. She's a relative outsider, I suppose. Look, she's 14-1 there with live score bet. She might even be a bigger price on the day. You mentioned her impressive winning the Blandford last time, and like you said, she beat Purple Lily. You got to me a couple of really good fillies, kind of classic performing fillies. They've all been kind of there in the big races so far this year. I just think she has plenty in her favour. Interesting that Shane Foley keeps the ride again. I just think, look, she's a filly who has to be held up. She likes a fast pace, and I think with Fallen Angel in the race, she's likely to go a nice lick from the front. Hanlia should settle in behind, and if she gets a kind of clear one through, we kind of saw her in the Irish Oaks, kind of similar story to Content. She kind of it was Ben Cohen rode her that day, and Ben kind of decided to track Ryan Moore, which probably 99% of the time is probably the right thing to do, but Content went into a bit of running, and Hanlia kind of was the same story. But once she got out, she kind of flew home as well. But look, I think there's definitely a case to be made for her there. I think she liked the little bit of a cut in the ground they're likely to get in Longchamp. The race should be one to suit her. Like I said, Shane Foley gave her a great ride last time. He settled her well. And I think she could be one definitely to run into the money from behind and possibly even cause a bit of an upset at a big enough price. She could be even bigger than 14-1 on the day. She could be one who's kind of half forgotten about, I suppose. But yeah, Hanlia for me, and Sparkling Plenty, which is definitely a strong case for Tanya. French filly there looks an exciting one. But I think we've covered the majority of the most exciting racing over the weekend. Anyway, it's kind of hard to condense it into a show when there's so much going on. Good national hunt racing back as well, but definitely we had to focus on the Arc this weekend. But Tanya, I'll ask you for a nap before we finish up, possibly from Longchamp, or whatever you fancy from anything across the weekend.
Yeah, well, I think I gave the game away with how excited I am with the Prix de l'Opera, so it will have to be Sparkling Plenty. Having seen that her form progress, and then last time out in that Prix Vermeil, it was worth watching that again and again, and I just couldn't believe how much distance that she had to concede in the early stages, and they didn't really press unduly hard in the closing stages, and she reduced the deficit to blue stocking. So coming into this Prix de l'Opera, that'll be my nap.
Very good. Sparkling Plenty there, 5-1 with live score bet. Will be the nap for Tanya, and I'm going to go with the Arc, and I'm going to go continuous. Look, I'd just be surprised if he wasn't in the places, to be honest. After he's running this last year, I think he's too big a price, 22-1, coming from Aidan O'Brien, Christoph Sumion. Coates Maiden will give you encouragement as well. He's kind of been geared towards this autumn campaign. You'd imagine this could have been maybe his overall season target. So I just think he's too big at 22-1 there with live score bet. I'm going to nap him each way anyway, so I think he should run a big race. But thanks very much for all your contributions, Tanya. Some great insight into all the racing in France and in Newmarket over the weekend. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're going to have a bet this weekend, make sure to gamble responsibly. And if you like the content, make sure and like and subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments below who you think will win the Arc.